guys, welcome to the Sheroic podcast. I'm Cassey.
And I'm Lisa.
And today we are talking about self-doubt.
Yes, we're talking about self-doubt. Cassey ho, do you suffer from self-doubt?
I do. Do you?
Yes! And I think there's such a misconception, right? Whereas, like, if you're successful, if you've achieved something, then surely you must have all the confidence in the world. But it is false. And the one thing we always say when we're going to start this podcast is we have to be true. We have to be honest.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we have self-doubt.
Yeah, there are lots of times when I feel like I'm not good enough, that I feel inadequate. And then sometimes it gets so bad that I will start comparing myself to other people, almost like listing out their good things versus my good things and what I have and don't have. And then you get into this hole where you just feel really like not good enough. It's super weird. This doesn't happen that often. But when it does, I notice it. I'm like, Cassey, you're being such a pitiful person right now. What is your problem? But I hate comparing myself. But I think we all we have those days where we just want to feel bad about ourselves. I don't know why. Not like you want to, but you just kind of do. And you almost feel like this weird satisfaction in pitying yourself. I think it's momentary. But do you ever feel that?
I so didn't expect you to say that. But you are so right. There's something about the human condition. I'm not entirely sure, and I'm sure scientists can actually give statistics behind it. But there's something about the human condition that certain extremes of emotion actually feel good, right? Don't you ever find, if you're sad, sometimes, just giving into that sadness, putting on the sad music and just bawling it actually, feels good, almost like a release valve or something. I don't know.
I completely agree. I feel like that's why when you're really upset and you just need to scream or punch a wall or just really ride that emotion to the extreme, then you can kind of get over it.
Right. And do you think that that's what happens then with self-doubt? Do you find, in fact, let's backtrack.
Okay.
Give us an example of when you feel like you often find yourself doubting yourself.
Okay. So I would say there are 3 areas that I have self-doubt. Okay, I'll start with the simple ones, and then I'll end up with one that is kind of weird. And sometimes I'm still like, why do I feel this way? Okay. But it's a very real feeling, and I just have to say that I feel that way so I can try to figure out how to not feel that way. Anyway, first area of self-doubt is, my body. I am comparing myself to other fitness professionals who have very hard bodies, got these 6-packs, these big butts, and they just look so good, right? And I work out, I eat clean, and I just have a tougher time achieving a certain type of body. And my 23andMe records show that I am actually predisposed to be overweight. And so there is scientific and genetic information that says I am having a harder time than most. It's not an excuse. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying that that's information that I have. And so the truth is I need to work 2, 3, 4, 5 times as hard as someone else who may be predisposed to be underweight. For example, yesterday my sister just got her new 23andMe report, and it says that she's predisposed to be underweight. And it's interesting because my entire life, Jacqueline has grown up being very thin, eating whatever she wants, and me trying so hard, eating salads or whatever, and still gaining weight. Anyway, that's just something that I have to be okay with, because I need to ask myself, so do you want to spend 5 more times at the 5 times the amount of time that someone else needs to at the gym just so you can look a certain way? Or would you rather spend your energy somewhere where you're naturally gifted, that you can excel in another area? And so for me, that's one place that
but before we move on to the next one, I just want to ask, based on that, did you once upon a time think, I'm not good enough at, let's say, exercise or fitness because I just can't seem to get the 6-pack abs? And did you find that getting these results actually was helping it? Was that where your self-doubt was initially?
I definitely have had self-doubt in how do you say it? The functioning abilities of my body. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, I'm putting it in this amount of time and effort, and I'm doing what I think is right, and yet you're still not giving me the results that I think I should be getting. So in that case, yes. In terms of self-doubt, in fitness expertise, I know that I'm pretty good at group fitness instruction. I feel very confident in that. But sometimes I'll doubt myself and feel like, oh, well, what if a quote unquote like real Pilates instructor came by and was like, oh, her form is so bad or something like that. But that doubt has really diminished because that was my first self-doubt when I first got on YouTube. I thought the first bad comment I was going to get was, oh, her toes aren't pointed and her shoulders aren't lifted high enough. But actually one of the first mean comments I got was, why doesn't she have abs? And so that's where my body image issues first arose online. So those are my first two self-doubt areas. Now my third area is kind of weird.
Okay.
I don't think anyone's really gonna expect
I know.
this.
I have no idea what you're about to say.
Okay. I oftentimes feel very inadequate around other entrepreneurs.
Really?
Yeah. It's super weird.
So define that situation. Like, would you say entrepreneurs in all business aspects, or are you comfortable around YouTube entrepreneurs because that's your world, and so you feel like, let's say, the more traditional entrepreneurs is something that you're not as experienced in, and that's where you find the self-doubt?
I think it's all types of entrepreneurs. I don't know. You know what? Okay, I think it's because I'm very multifaceted, and it's kind of been like this my entire life. Like, yes, I am a designer. Yes, I'm a YouTuber. Yes, I'm also an entrepreneur and a fitness instructor. So there's something inside me that says, well, I'm not just one of those, so I can't really be that good. So I feel like a fake when I'm around like a full-on like only fitness instructor, a full-on only designer. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'm not good enough. Isn't that weird?
It is weird. I'm going to be honest. Because here's the thing. I think that is so incredible that you can be multifaceted. And then you can be successful at those different arenas. Like that, to me, as an entrepreneur who hasn't had all these different, kind of avenues like you have, I find that so intriguing, and to be honest, that is impressive to me. The fact that you can have a fitness channel and crush it. The fact that you can have a clothing line and crush it. Like all these things that you do and you crush it. Now look, I'm not saying that you don't fail, because I think we've obviously spoken many times about our failures in life. But the fact that you're able to do all these multifaceted things, is so impressive to me.
I think the other thing is that I'm also I hold back, and I'm very humble when it comes to talking about numbers and successes and stuff. And when you pair me with somebody who likes to over talk about how much they achieved, I think that makes me feel a lot less than. I don't know, do you ever meet people who just humble brag or just straight up brag about either how much money they make or how many things they sold or all these things, and it just all of a sudden makes me feel like, oh no, well, I didn't sell that much in the first 30 minutes of our launch, or something like that. And I don't know, there's just something about it when people talk so egotistically about money that makes me feel so weird that I start to cower into a corner and feel like nothing. I don't know, it's super weird.
I don't even have a theory on why that is.
I don't know. I think it's when people are super egotistical, it scares me. And I just really want to leave. I just want to go away, because I think I'm not scared of successful people. I think I'm scared of people who are so just egotistical that I just they're draining me. I don't know what it is.
But it's interesting that makes you then doubt yourself.
Yes, because if someone can talk so confidently about how successful they are, and I can't because I don't want to brag, I guess it makes me feel like I'm losing this success battle on a verbal front.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I really don't like talking about money and achievements in that way, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I speak through actions. And so when someone straight up just says, just lists off all their achievements the first time that I meet them, it makes me feel really low. I don't know, but maybe that's my problem. Maybe I shouldn't feel like that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it is your problem,
Yeah.
for sure. And I mean that in an empowering way, because I always think about looking through lenses. And what I mean by that is, if you could see you from the lens that I look at you from, you would never feel that. Because I see you as this super incredible, hardworking, I don't want to say intelligent, but you are intelligent. The reason why I was like, I don't want to say it is because I don't want to fixate on that you're born like that. You work damn hard to become intelligent in your fields that you go into. But you really are just so motivating that it is so surprising for me, who knows you very well, that you have self-doubt in the arenas that I think you are crushing it in. And I think it really does become then the lens that you're looking through. So if you could, if we could swap bodies, right? My brain goes into yours and yours goes, like, I think it would be so empowering for you to see how I see you. And that's actually one thing that I feel when it comes to self-doubt, that you've got to get out of your own head. Because most of the time it is within you. Right? It's you allowing other people to influence that self-doubt in you. So let's say you're like you said, going into a meeting with an entrepreneur, like you sometimes cower a bit, you feel a little inadequate in that situation. If you could see yourself how I see you, I think you would then go into that meeting and not feel like that, and then project yourself in a different way. So coming out of yourself and seeing, like not being in your own head and not letting other people influence that emotion.
So next week, I'm actually going to an event where I'm going to be around a lot of influencers, and inside already, and it's a week away, I already feel less than. Isn't this so weird? And not that I care about numbers, but they let us know how many, followers some of us have. And, you're like, okay, well, I'm like the third biggest one or whatever. And then here's the big one and whatever. And I don't know. I think it has something to do with bringing me back to high school and feeling like I'm not popular enough. I'm not good enough. Because I've never really been good with social settings. I don't have social anxiety, but I am not really good at social things. Like, I am me. I'm Cassey. I'm a nice person. And if you're nice to me, cool, we'll be friends. But, like, in terms of, like, being cool and knowing how to work that, like, I don't have that social game. And, like, it makes me feel less than. I don't know. I think anything that has to do with someone's worth based on numbers makes me feel really weird. I'm just like not comfortable with
It's interesting that you chose your profession to be around that.
I think social media became a thing. I don't
Like
know if I
part
chose.
of your,
I mean, it's just part of it. And it's great that my numbers are whatever they are, but sometimes people walk around and treat you a certain way based on your numbers. Well, not sometimes, all the time. I think everybody does. It's almost like walking around with your bank account worth on top of your forehead and then seeing what...
That's a really good analysis.
No, it is true. It is true because if I didn't have the amount of followers I did on YouTube or Instagram, I know I would be treated differently in certain situations. And I don't like that.
But I like the analogy with the money and the bank account, because it would be uber weird if people walked around with, their bank statement on their chest.
It's kind of the same thing.
It is, for sure. But
because the more followers you have, the more you get paid for certain campaigns. And I just really hate that you get treated differently because of that. I know it's people and it's society and that's how it works. I just hate it. And that's why I get really uncomfortable when people talk about how much they made from this one thing. I don't know. I don't really want to know. Like, maybe if we were in a private conversation and I had trouble with a certain business deal and I wanted to ask how much you think I should be getting. So then we can talk. But just straight up saying hey, I'm so successful. Look at how much money I made. I think it's the intention behind it that kind of bothers me.
That's fair.
I don't know. But I think... Yes, this definitely is my problem. I need to figure out how to not feel less than, especially when I'm not.
Yeah.
So,
have you actually thought about that and what the steps you can take to not feel like that?
One of the ways that I bring myself up after feeling really low is to list out to myself all the great things that I have achieved and all the cool experiences that I had over the past whatever years, and then it slowly starts builds up my confidence. But in terms of feeling less than, when I straight up just start comparing myself to other influencers or other entrepreneurs, I don't know. I think I just need to tell myself, like, Cassey, like, stop it. Like, what are you doing? Like, I just need to not do it. Yeah, I don't know.
It's such a, and going back to what I was saying earlier, like, it's so in your own head, right?
It's totally, it's all in my own head.
It's all in your own head. And I think if you're able to use that to empower yourself instead of to use it to not destroy yourself, right, but to bring you down, like, it can be, at least I think, one of the most empowering tools at our disposal.
Yeah, and on the opposite end, like, sometimes you get people who say aren't as big in their numbers or whatever, but they act so big, like, and even that fake acting, even that scares me.
Right.
Like, not. You know what it... Okay, I think I think I might be onto something.
Ooh.
I think I'm not scared of other entrepreneurs who don't talk about how successful they are. I'm scared of those, like, people who talk so big and just almost want you to feel smaller than them.
Right.
And I know people like this, and it always makes me feel really bad. And I don't know why, because it's coming from fakeness.
Yeah.
And
So
yet
you're allowing external forces to really make you feel a certain way.
Okay, like, so I met Richard Branson, CEO or president of Virgin, right?
Yeah.
One of the most successful people ever.
Oh, he started like 100 companies.
Yeah. I'm not scared of him. He doesn't make me feel less than. I'm inspired by him. But
oh, okay, now we're really getting down.
Okay, but there are some small business owners that I've met who, when they meet me, like, I don't know what it is that they do. I think it might be because they start talking about numbers, something right away, that somehow they make me feel less
So
than.
is it like the person's intention?
I think it is. This is really weird. This is a very weird therapy session.
No, I love it, because here's the thing is that I think it happens so often. People allow other people to influence how they feel about themselves.
Yeah.
Right? And you're going to encounter all these people who, I think they're trying to brag to make them look good. It has nothing to do with you, right? They're not trying to bring you down.
That's what it is.
They're up against Cassey Ho, who is a massive sensation, and now it's like, oh, I need her to notice. And look, I'm just guessing, right? But
no, I think you're really
situation.
right, though, because that's what Sam said too.
Oh,
yeah.
Me and Sam always on the same page.
Yeah.
But there's something there by they're thinking of themselves.
Yeah.
They're thinking, I'm in front of somebody, they look at you, majorly successful in everything you do, like all the endeavors you try, you crush them. And so when people are around you, or I think around anyone that may be successful in what they desire, they try to kind of be on that same level. And so it's not really about bringing you down. I think it's probably about making themselves feel better so that you look at them in a certain way.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is by doing that, it makes you feel bad about yourself.
Yes, so it is definitely my problem.
Right, but like, and that's actually something that I think a lot of our fans have written in about self-doubt and how do you overcome it, like basically how do you overcome it, how do you recognize it, and how do you use it in the positive. And I think that there is a place where you can turn it into a positive. And for me, I've really done that. Like, I've taken certain situations and instead of letting it make me feel small, right? Like recognizing in this moment, these are those moments that actually I feel intimidated. I feel like I'm not necessarily worthless, but incapable.
Yeah.
And I think this is your own mind talking to yourself, right? It's your own voice.
Yeah.
How do you stop that? How do you switch it? How do you make it positive? And I think it is all in preparing for scenarios like that. So if, for instance, when you go to these events, you're going to feel a certain way, putting in tricks, tactics, ways for you to reverse that, I think will be really important. The fact that you can identify it is like a major step in the right direction. So because you've got a week, right?
Yeah.
What are the things that you can do to help you prepare for that? Because if you know it's going to happen, it's actually a great opportunity to reverse engineer it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, I know who's going.
Okay.
So I can research them.
Okay.
And my whole thing is I want to get to know people regardless of what their number is, how much money they make, how many followers they have. Like, I really don't care. And so I guess my problem is that sometimes I can be humbled to a detriment. Have you ever like where you're just like, oh no, like I'm not good enough. I know it's okay. I'm not that pretty. Like no, that sort of thing.
Do you do that to make yourself feel better? Or do you make it to make other people feel better?
Okay, I think there's two things. I think sometimes it's just a natural reaction, like, oh, you're so pretty today, Lisa, and you're like, oh no, I'm not. It's just like a really cute reaction or something. But sometimes you start to believe it, and that's the actual problem. And so, I don't know. I think there's something about me where if I know I'm not number one, then I know I'm not there yet, and therefore I feel like I'm not good enough. And so I think that's where my self-doubt comes from. So
I think you just absolutely hit the nail on the head.
Did I? Because I'm not sure if I got it.
I think that's exactly it.
What did I say? I don't know.
Because here's the thing, I think that's what makes you great.
What?
So basically, if you're not number one, if you're not at the top, you realize you're not there yet.
Yeah.
Which points out inadequacies. Which then the inadequacies maybe you take as a personal thing, but maybe that's actually what then drives you to be better and get to number one.
Yes. So
is this your superpower that you didn't even realize?
I think so, but I think I need to change my mindset because the right thing is happening, right? I know I'm not number one, so I should keep working hard to be better. So that's the good part, except in the process, I just don't ever feel good enough.
Okay.
So now I need to change that feeling of not ever feeling good enough to feeling like I'm getting there.
Right.
So I think that's maybe something I should work on. Also, what our fans can work on too, because it's okay to not be number one. In fact, I think it's great if you're not, because like you said, it drives you to become better. But it's about how you're feeling along the journey, and you just can't keep feeling not good enough all the time.
Right.
Because
use it to accelerate. You don't use it to knock you down and crush you.
Right. Because as long as you are getting better than where you were yesterday, then you're better. Like you're progressing. That's really good. I think what happens is that sometimes that the success of others, or quote unquote success of what others say, casts a shadow on your little growth progress along the way. And I think maybe I make that shadow darker for myself than it should be. And maybe the shadow doesn't really exist at all and it's just in my head. But yeah, it's just totally in my head, and I just should stop doing that.
Yeah.
I should stop.
But I think it is in people's heads. And I think that with self-doubt, it can be emotionally crushing. I think that's where it can be detrimental to your ultimate goal. But I also think that if you can emotionally stabilize yourself when you have self-doubt, then you can really use it for strength and power. Like for me, every time I doubt myself, it gives me the fire under my butt, and it almost accelerates me because it's like, well, I'm not going to succumb to the self-doubt, because I think that's a big point as well. And that's actually why I wore the shirt that says fear less.
I love it.
Because I think that when you have self-doubt, it creates fear in you, and then the fear paralyzes you, and then that paralysis makes you not try things. And so I think if you can go, okay, I have self-doubt, I don't know if I can actually do this, I don't know if I can achieve it, but instead of it then creating fear and paralyzing me, how do I spin this? And for me, it's use it as power, use it as strength. All right, Lisa, you've got self-doubt. What are you actually doubting in yourself? Are you doubting that in this business meeting you can't hold your own, right? Okay, if that's the case, go in to the meeting fully prepared. Be the most prepared person on the planet, so that when you walk into that meeting, you don't have doubt about the subject you're talking about. Okay, Lisa, you're self-doubting the way you look today. Like, I don't have great self-esteem right now or whatever. And I'm doubting that I'm going to be able to wow my husband in my outfit. I don't know. I'm like pulling situations out my butt right now. But, right, okay. So what are you going to feel empowered by? What is going to make you feel good about yourself? All right, is it what I'm wearing? Okay, cool. Then change what you're wearing, right? Like, I kind of use the self-doubt as an analysis of what I'm about to do, and then adjust accordingly. So if you can use that as power, I have found that technique to be very useful instead of destruction, because it used to absolutely paralyzed me. It created fear in me. It made me not want to try anything. And that the result is you don't actually achieve anything, right? You're paralyzed by the fear of trying something.
Because you think you're going to fail
Because
or
you're
not
gonna
be good enough.
Right. And so if you can go, even if I fail, what's the big deal? Right? Like,
Yeah.
you're going to learn from it. So,
Yeah.
and to your point about not being number one, which I love, sometimes it is the best thing that can happen to you.
No, I agree. And there was a quote, I don't remember what it is, but something about how when it's better to be constantly think you're number two, so that you can actually be number one or something
Right.
like that.
I've actually, speaking of quotes, I've got one very powerful
Yeah, let's
one,
hear it.
which when I heard it, I was like, we've got to use this.
Okay.
When you doubt your power, you give power to your doubt.
Ah, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Right? You're
That's
giving...
literally what I'm
Yes.
doing.
When you
Wow.
doubt your power, you give power to your doubt.
Ooh.
I love that so much.
Huh.
Because it's true. It's like within the doubt, you're literally giving that now power and you're enhancing it, which really is the opposite of what we actually want, right? No one wants to doubt themselves or have the self-doubt in their competence. But the more you do it, the more you're giving it strength.
That's so true. That's a really good quote.
Yeah. Really.
And I don't want to give my doubt power because it kind of starts from some place inside you that doesn't really exist and
Right.
no one even knows about it because it's self-doubt. And all of a sudden, if you do give it power, then it's going to start showing up on your face, in your actions, in your clothes, like in your everything, in your everyday life. Like you got to keep it inside.
And
Like, keep it there.
But another thing, actually, this is interesting, is what if you started talking about it, right? Like you right now, you're talking about it. Do you feel like this is part of like, oh, this is how I overcome it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's funny because I feel weird when I talk about it because I know it's a very like unusual thing. Like, why would someone who from the outside who seems successful in what she does feel so inadequate in her own area of expertise? But some of my other friends, for example, my friend Lindsay Sterling, who is an amazing violinist, we did a video on confidence. And she says that one of the places where she feels the most self-doubt is in her violin playing. So it might just be a thing that some people who are very good at what they do and continuously try to excel to be better, they might just have all this little bit inside of them that just tells them that they're never good enough, so they never stop trying.
Yeah. That is exactly it. Oh my God, that is it. Guys, rewind this and re-listen to that quote, what you just said. Because seriously, you so hit the nail on the head. And the reason why I said I just watched the show called Genius.
Okay.
And it's about Einstein.
Uh-huh.
It's a really good show, by the way.
Okay.
And the most intelligent man, right? Like, he's a genius. Einstein, he doubted his abilities. So every time he was like coming up with new theories, he like, and they show this in this TV show,
Yeah.
he just doubts himself and he struggles with it. Now, this is considered one of the most intelligent men in the world in all history, and he doubted himself.
Wow.
So I actually use that as well. If I doubt myself, I'm like, hang on a minute. Lisa, stop thinking like that. Because if Einstein can doubt himself and be so incredible, you're doubting yourself, okay, use this as fuel, use it as power, don't let it destroy. Same with what you were saying about Lindsay, like one of the most incredible violinists in the world, and she still doubts herself. But I bet you that's what makes her one of the best.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it all starts with talking about it, realizing that
Right.
you have this quote unquote issue, or maybe now it's really more of a motivator. Who knows what this type of, I think there should be a special word for this type of self-doubt. A self-doubt for people who are good at what they do but don't think they're good at it.
Yeah.
There should be a word for that.
So in fact, let's make up a word.
Oh, okay.
I'm not very good at making up words, but so in fact, there's two studies that we pulled.
Okay.
And what's interesting is the study's results are complete opposite, and
What?
this is what I love. Yeah.
Okay.
So researchers from Taylor and Francis have found that self-doubt can lead to defensive pessimism, to avoid taking on new challenges, procrastination, self-sabotage, to protect ourselves from actually trying, drive to overachieve, and possibility of burning out, imposter syndrome, and an inability to accept praise. Right? So they're basically saying self-doubt can lead to either not trying, right? Fear, that what we're saying, not taking on new challenges. So it paralyzes you,
Okay.
self-doubt. Then there's another study that came out in 2010 that showed some self-doubt can actually improve performance and help in avoiding the mistakes of overconfidence. And so what I take from that is if you have somewhat self-doubt, it's like kind of what I was saying when I go into business meetings. If it's an arena that I'm actually not confident in, I will research and I will look and I will go in 100% prepared in every possible, because I'm so doubting and I'm fearful that I'm going to fail in that meeting. I've overcompensated and prepared for it. Overconfidence, you go in kind of cocky, right?
Yeah.
I know this. I got this. And then you sit down and someone asks you a question. You're like, oh, dear God, I have no idea.
But have you ever met those people where they don't know, but they just play it off like, whatever, like, I don't need to know anyway?
Right, yeah.
It's those types of people that intimidate me.
Interesting.
Okay, I think I'm getting somewhere. I think I'm really scared of cocky people.
Huh. Even if, like, they're wrong.
Yes, because, okay, wait, I'm getting somewhere because my dad
I think we're doing a breakthrough.
My dad is this way.
Okay.
He's really egotistical, and even when you call him out for being wrong, he'll be like, oh, whatever, like, it doesn't matter, like, just a mistake. Or no, he won't even say it's a mistake. He never says sorry. But when he thinks he's right, he is right, like, to the moon and back. Like, anything you say is, like, 0 to him.
So does that cause self-doubt in you?
I think so, because even when I'm right, and he's like, no, you're not. Like, I'm right. Then I all of a sudden be like, wait, I gotta look at my notes again. Like, I could have sworn I'd done this research and whatever. And then he ends up being wrong. And then he goes like, what nuts? Well, it's not a big deal.
Right.
And then so it kind of invalidates me.
So why do you allow that to then put self-doubt in you? Because clearly it does, like, oh, whatever, he doesn't necessarily care.
You know what? I think he does care, but when he's wrong, he acts like he doesn't care. I think what I'm trying to get at here is that my dad is a very egotistical person, and from when I was young, like, whether he meant to or not, he instilled fear in me when I didn't know something. So, for example, like when he would teach me geometry or algebra 2 or something like that, and I just didn't understand this one concept, he would yell at me and be like, why don't you understand this? This is so easy. This is the easiest math in the world. And, like, you know, I'm like a kid learning theorems for the first time. Like, I don't know why I don't understand. I don't understand this, so I'm asking for help. And so I think now when I meet people who are just so overly confident, maybe it reminds me of when my dad used to yell at me for not knowing something. I don't know.
Wow, I feel like we just had a major breakthrough.
Maybe.
That seems like that makes complete
sense. Because I am really scared of people who are super cocky. And it's very weird because like I said, I'm not scared of Richard Branson. I'm not scared of these other people who are like actually successful. It's people who put on a mask of knowing everything that really scare me.
I think you absolutely nailed it. And I love that we actually just did that in real time.
I know.
Like, honestly, I think I would love to go back now and re-listen to this whole episode.
Yeah.
Because I think we did the little, like, the breadcrumbs, and I think we found it.
Yeah, because you're my therapist now.
Oh, but honestly, like, I'm like actually genuinely excited right now because I feel like we nailed it. And what's amazing is we just did that in real time.
Yeah.
And using this real time, I hope people at home can also do the same. Yeah. Because I bet you any money, most of people's self-doubts come through a history of experiences, right? So if you can look back and go, where did it stem from? Why do I feel like that? Where did this come from? I'm hoping that maybe then you can use that as a starting point to then fix it, right? Because if you go, yeah, this actually does start from my dad. I'm actually not intimidated by someone like Richard Branson, who is one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world ever. Like, I think that man's incredible. If you can really, like, pull it down like that and go, wow, it does stem from my father, or it does stem from something that happened when I was a child. Well, how do you work on fixing that? Because I think that's ultimately the goal, right? How do I stop doing this? How do I prevent this from being self-destructive in my life? And I think that for you, like, identifying that it is from your childhood, identifying that it is from your father, that he acted a certain way and that made you feel a certain way. Now maybe there's a way of them breaking that pattern, because I think everything is a pattern. Right? So knowing when someone's like this around me, I get triggered. Right? Because when we were talking with Mel Robbins about triggers.
This is a trigger. Yeah. It happens every time. Yeah. And I always end up, like, someone will be like, well, I just made one. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, well, nice to meet you. And like, I literally walk away because I cannot handle it.
Well,
It's
that's
super
actually a really
weird.
good tactic.
Well, yeah, except I want to be able to stand there and listen and be like, oh, okay, cool. And like not feel bad about myself because clearly like whatever, who cares?
Right.
I don't know. It's super weird.
All right, so maybe we'll do a updated episode where maybe you've tried some tactics and we can figure this out.
Okay, so my tactic is going to be, and I'm saying this out loud so that any of you who are listening at home can try this as well. I'm going to remind myself that I shall not give power to my self-doubt or else it will have power over me. And I will also remind myself of all the great things that I've done and achieved and all the positive impact I've had on people in my life. And let that hold me up because I just don't want to compare myself to other people. I think that's what it is. I think it's the comparison that really just rips me apart.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't, and then comparing numbers is like, it's so icky to me.
Yeah.
I know some people don't think it's icky, but to me, I just don't like it.
I mean, I think it goes back to what you're saying about like the bank account thing, right? It's a little weird. It's unusual. It's a new age where we are being judged on different things.
Yeah.
And right now, social is what we get judged by, whether we like it or not. But it also is part of the business, right? Like I absolutely look at how many views we get, how many downloads, because part of me it's validation on if what we're doing is achieving our goals, right? So it's like the more people that talk about it, okay, we're actually affecting more people. So like that has the blessing and the curse. And I think if we can all like emotionally detach from.
That's what emotionally detached. I feel like I can look at numbers very objectively, but when numbers come with a sense of judgment, like that's when I like can't handle it. Yeah.
Plus also just in general, self-doubt goes kind of back to you get what you focus on. I know I say a lot in the episodes, but I think you do. And I think that when you get in a situation where you may feel bad about yourself or you're not sure if you can achieve something, I think the more you focus on that, the more it gives it power, right? The more it becomes real in your life.
Yeah.
But if you can say, like what you just said, hang on a minute, I've actually achieved a lot and I'm proud of what I've achieved.
Yeah.
Keep that in your back pocket. And every time if you feel that trigger, if you feel that emotion where you're like now going down a path of self-doubt and it gets worse and worse because if you're focusing on it, right? It's only going to feed itself. If you can switch that habit and go, every time I think of something negative, every time I think of something that I can't do something, I'm going to force myself to have this whole area of good things that I'm proud of and pull out of my handbag. Like, okay, what am I proud of? Oh, I'm proud of that. I've got workout videos that people are doing. I'm actually changing lives. We're doing a podcast. We're affecting women. Like all these things that you can pull out to change where you're focusing. I think it's tremendously powerful.
Okay, I'm gonna keep that little bag of thoughts nearby every time.
Bag of thoughts.
When I feel like I'm not good enough, I'm gonna open the bag of thoughts and pull it in front of my eyes and read it.
And maybe maybe you go, I'm gonna look through someone else's lens. Right, going back to what we were saying at the beginning of you're looking through it through your own lens. And I think that does make you great. And I think that does push you. It goes back to like being number 2, right? That pushes you to like, okay, well, what else do I have to do? And what instead of relaxing?
Because once you're number 1, you're like, well, I'm here. What more? What else is there? Like you just kind of stop. At least that's what I think the mentality would be like once you're there.
We actually just interviewed on Impact Theory Maria Sharapova.
Yeah.
And she's an incredible tennis player, right? Considered the best in the world. And she spoke about the cockiness of being number 1. And she said very quickly she had to learn that when she was on the tennis court, if she was winning, that she can't think about the fact that she's winning because way too often you let your guard down.
Oh my gosh. This is so true. This is how you go from, being like 5-0 to all of a sudden the other person's up 5-5 and you're like, how did that happen? No, because I used to play tennis competitively in high school.
What?
Yeah. And
competitively?
I was on the varsity tennis team for 4 years.
Wow.
And I was team captain for 3 years. So
that's amazing.
But I hated playing. I just hated it.
But I love how you're like that good at it.
Well, I could have been better if I loved it. But what I'm trying to say is that definitely when I felt like, oh, we're going to play an easy team today, I'm just going to just take it easy. You start out hard. Okay, you're crushing them. Then you're like, okay, cool. I'll just do whatever for the next 2 sets. And then all of a sudden, now they're up. And you're like, what the heck? How did that happen? You do let your guard down when you feel like you're winning. It is 100% true.
Yeah.
You just don't try as hard.
Right.
When you're winning.
Now imagine you're playing and there's someone in front of you that is world class. The doubt seeps in, but man, you can use that as power.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh my God, I'm facing head to head with Maria Sharapova. Like, I'm never going to win. Right? That I think is destructive.
Yes.
I'm never going to win doesn't help you. But if you go, wow, how on earth am I going to beat her? I have to watch the videos. I have to see how she plays. I have to learn. I have to soak in everything so that when I go in, like, there might be a possibility, right? That drive.
You know what else it is? I think there's such a beauty in not being number one because you've got less to lose. You don't have to hold your title anymore. And so you're going to do whatever it takes. You're going to take some risks. You're going to go do some crazy shots. And so what if you didn't win? At least you tried. But when you're number one and you try things and you lose your crown, like, ooh, like that hurts. So I think that is a beautiful thing to being number two. But hey, if you are number one and you do lose, it's okay. You can just win again next time.
But even, right? And even what you were saying about Lindsay, like even if you're like number one, like if you have a little bit of self-doubt, I actually think that's perfect. Yeah. So if you can, like I would love to be in that position, right? Like I'm on top of the world, I'm number one, and I still got a little bit of self-doubt that keeps pushing me to never give up. Yeah. Because the second you do, the second you think that you're like the bee's knees, someone behind you is going to run past you.
100%. It will happen. Yeah.
So that's why I kind of like these stats because it's like, yes, it's true. It can hold you back. It can stop you. It can paralyze you. But let me tell you, it can, push you forward and it can, it actually improve performance is what it says. So...
Wow. Yeah. That's cool that there was a research study on that because I just thought these were things that I was feeling inside my heart and my head.
And what's amazing, this is what I love about this podcast, is like, we're learning so much about each other. I think we learn so much about ourselves as well. And I love seeing the comments, especially on YouTube, because obviously, sadly, podcast people can't leave comments. They can only leave reviews.
Why can't they leave
I
comments?
don't know. That's a whole other,
weird. Okay.
But I love seeing the YouTube comments, right? When people are like, oh my God, I felt exactly the same. And so realizing there's just like a bevy of people that all feel like us. And I think it's when you feel like you're alone, right? When you feel like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Why do I doubt myself? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? It just perpetuates that negativity. But I love doing this and I love seeing the comments because I think people realize, wow, it's not just me. Wow, there are things that I can do to escape. Like, what are your tricks? And everyone starts sharing and figuring this out. And I think if we can come together and talk about it and realize it's not just in your head, right? The people at home, the young girls out there are trying to do things. They were like, oh my God, Cassey feels that too. I actually think that's so liberating.
I think we all need to talk about these things because I think everybody's going through it. And then you make it a bigger deal when you don't share it. Yeah, I think a lot of people go through these things. And it's empowering to realize it and also very liberating, as you said before. Because if you can't pinpoint it, it becomes this big, mysterious weight that's dragging you down. But once you know exactly what it is, you know what demon or beast that you're dealing with, so you can figure out how to deal with it.
I love that you call it a demon and a beast because it's true. It can be destructive.
Yeah. Real quick, because I feel like I just kind of overtook this entire episode with my therapy session.
Oh my God, are you joking? I've loved it.
But
is that bad that I said I loved it? Like as you're pouring your heart out, I'm like, I loved it.
I want to know what your self-doubt is.
Oh, I mean, I think I have self-doubt in every single thing I do. And I've kind of trained myself to use it as a superpower because when I was younger, I used to doubt everything, right? Like from body image, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not clever enough, I'm not good at art enough. Like all these things, I just felt like I wasn't good enough. And to be honest, it has been a blessing because over time, I taught myself like the you get what you focus on, the lens you look through, all these things have helped shape me to use it as strength, to use it as a way of improving. And because of that, I feel empowered and I just feel like every time I have self-doubt, I don't worry about it because I just go, okay, well, how do you use it? Like, what do you use it to then get to achieve? And so, yeah, the biggest thing is not letting it be destructive to your life.
So you've kind of masked this self-doubt. Maybe you can't answer this now because it's a different feeling inside of your body and your head. But now you know that whenever this feeling comes about, it's something that lights a fire under your butt.
Yeah.
In everything that you do.
Yeah.
So you feel a little bit of self-doubt in every little situation.
Yeah, and I think...
But you just research real hard so that you don't feel that way.
Yeah, and I think it's mindset.
Yeah.
Like, so Carol Dweck wrote the book Mindset, and honestly, it changed my life. It changed my husband's life. It changed... that's what kind of helped, you know, Tom's mind change to build Quest. I mean, like, it really made a difference. And the book about mindset really is the word yet. And what I mean by that is, I can't do it yet. And that word to me is like so powerful. And I use it now in everyday language. And just by adding the word yet gives me my power back. So if I have self-doubt, let's say, for instance, I'm going into a business meeting and... or even this podcast, for instance, perfect example. The first time we did it, we'd never done podcasts before, right? We may have done like some interviews and stuff like that, but it's a whole different way of talking. It was new to us. And so going into it, did I let like, oh my God, am I going to be able to articulate what I mean? Are people going to resonate, you know, with what I'm saying? All these things, of course, came to my mind, 100%. But I just told myself, okay, you may mess up. You may not know about this subject, but you don't know it yet. And so knowing that there's a possibility that I can change and knowing there's the possibility that I can improve gives me the power back.
I love that.
So anytime you have self-doubt, if you can add the word yet onto what you're doubting, I think that can be so powerful.
Yeah, there's so much potential in that word, yet. There's so much potential when you have self-doubt, too.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of potential in people. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for helping me try to figure out what my issue is with feeling inadequate.
Thank you for being so open and raw and honest. Because,
of course.
But I really think, like, that's what I absolutely love about you.
Aww.
You don't mind being vulnerable. And I think that just this podcast today, like, was so enlightening to me, let alone, I'm sure, the people at home, where they can really, like, feel like... I think it's because it's real time.
Yes, things are actually happening right now, like today, yesterday, tomorrow. So, yeah, there's, if you can't be vulnerable, you can't grow. You got to be so honest with yourself. So, yeah, thank you for being my therapist today.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And my friend.
Oh, that's always. Yeah, thank you for being so vulnerable in this episode. That was, to see this whole thing kind of unravel in real time has been amazing. And I love stuff like this.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think if people at home, like, it would be awesome to hear feedback on how they processed it and what they do if they have self-doubt. And if you guys at home ever try any of these tactics that we've mentioned have worked for us, it would be awesome to hear feedback and hear the results.
Yep. So I think today's superpower is about being vulnerable so that you can find your potential.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Love it.
Love it?
Yeah.
Cool.
And use the word yet.
And use the word yet. I like that. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning into our episode. If you're on YouTube, leave us a comment. If you are on iTunes or Stitcher, please give us a review and rate. And give us your honest, vulnerable opinion because we want to know. Exactly. And until next time,
be Sheroic!